In Chapter 4, we're going to look at inventory and how we can use Excel to not only keep track of our inventory, to do some inventory analysis. If you look on page 96, we're also going to be using some functions. We're going to use that AutoSum, that sum button that I taught you in the last chapter. If you look down at the bottom there is a table of all of the other functions we're going to be using. Excel has hundreds, possibly thousands of functions that can be used, anywhere from basic math to higher math. If we turn the page to page 97, it talks about the function syntax, okay? And it talks about every formula starting with a 0, okay? The function name is, starting with the equal sign. The function name is what comes after the equal sign. And then the parentheses encompass what's called an argument, or the range of cells that we want to use for this function. Okay. So what we're going to do for Chapter 4 is we're going to be using a file that is, again, already created for you, and you can find it in your Canvas classroom, or you could have downloaded it from your textbook. That's wherever you want to get it from. So we're going to go ahead and open that file. Let's see here. So I need student, chapter 4, and we're looking for EA4-D1. Okay. So before we get started on these step-by-steps, let's take a look at this file and see what we're looking at. Acoustic guitars inventory costing method comparison. So we're looking at LIFO inventory, LastinFirstout, FIFO, and weighted average. We're going to be looking at these three types of inventory costing, and we're going to be comparing them. It tells us here that the beginning inventory was 21 units, and then we purchased some throughout the year, okay, and how much we have. It also tells us what our ending units in inventory are, okay. So we know that we purchased 21 we had 21 to start with. We purchased this many throughout the year, and this is how many we had left after our sales. If we could look down here at the bottom, we have another tab. If we click on that one, our inventory listing, it tells us what guitars we have, okay, who the product manager is, where they were manufactured, who the end user should be, and then our ending inventory for each year. Okay. If we look over here to the right, we then have 4 columns, number of years, average, maximum, and minimum, that are not filled in. And we're going to go ahead and fill those in. Now this looks like a lot, but the good news is Excel is awesome, and we don't have to do it all. Okay, we have to do it once and then copy and paste it. So let's look at our step-by-step. It says, number 2, on the inventory listing tab, type the following in cell B2. Okay, so let's pop back over here, B2, total categories. What we're going to do is we're going to use the count function. Okay, so we're going to use the count A function. If we type in equals count A, we get this function to pop up right here. Okay, and you can click on it, or actually if you just type it in all caps and put in your parentheses, then you don't have to click on it. The caps is important. It doesn't recognize it as a function if you don't type it in all caps. So equals count A in parentheses, and what we're going to do is we're going to tell this to count the number of different items in a column. Okay, so from here we're going to highlight A5 to A83. So we're going to start at A5, click and drag all the way down to A83, and then I'm going to press enter on my keyboard, and it tells me that there are 79 different items between A5 and A83. Okay, so this is the total number of different categories of inventory that we have as a company. Now we're going to go to cell J5, where it says number of years. So we want to know how many years did we have this inventory or this specific category in our inventory. So again, we're going to use a count function. Okay, we're going to use a count function, but this one's a little different. So this one equals COU, and then you can double click on the word count, not count A, just count. And when you double click on it, it finishes it for you. Put in that opening parenthesis. We want it to count from E5 to I5. Okay, so I'm going to click E5 and drag to I5. Now your book tells you to type the ending parenthesis. You really could just press enter. There's no point in typing the ending parenthesis. It will automatically put it in there for you. Because there's nothing in this I-5, it counts up for 4 years. It counts that there's data in 4 different columns. Okay. Now we're going to go over here to average inventory balance. So we want to know what is the average of these numbers over here. I'm going to show you a different way. Your book is going to show you a different way to go about getting a formula. So up here we have a tab that says formulas. And we have what's called a function library. And there's a whole bunch of different functions, different formulas in here. And we're going to go to the one over here on the left that says insert function. And this gives us a place to search for a function. The function that we're working with is called average, and it's a pretty common function, so it does appear down here in the common one. If you are looking for a function that doesn't appear here, you can search for it right there. But we can just go ahead and click on the word average and click OK. And it wants to know, what are we taking the average of? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this up here a little bit. Oh, maybe I'll bring it down here. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click from E5 to I5 because that's what I want the average of. And then I'm going to click OK. Now you notice when I clicked outside that box, it kind of made that box small for a moment, and then when I let go, it brought it back again. So I'm going to click OK, and I get the average inventory balance was $2,200. L5 is looking for a maximum, and again I can do the same thing. I can come up here to insert function, or if I know that I need a maximum, I can just type in equals max and then E5 to I5 and press enter. Okay, and then the same thing for min, equals min E5 colon I5 and press enter. So for your most common functions, your sum, your average, your max, your min, you can just use the words and they'll pop up. You don't have to search for them or anything like that. So our next step, we're going to start with J5 and drag over to M5. J5 to M5, and I'm on step 12 in your textbook. On the very first video, we talked about this fill handle right here, and if you put your mouse in the bottom right-hand corner, it turns into a black plus sign. If I click and drag that straight down to row 83 and let go, it will automatically fill in the answers for every single one of those columns, and I don't have to do it. Okay. The next place we're going to go is E5 to or E84, sorry, to I84. So right here we're looking for, we have this single and double underline, so we know that we were supposed to have added or subtracted or something with these numbers above. We're looking to add these, so we're going to go ahead and click on E84 and drag to I84. And right here we have a button that says AutoSum, and if I just click on the sigma at the top, that's the Greek letter sigma, if I just click on it, it will automatically add up all of the numbers. If I look here, I can see sum E5 to E83, so E83 to E5. So it just added all of the numbers in that column. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and save this. I apologize. I'm going to save this as, whoops, my caps lock is still on, Chapter 4 EA video, because that's what I'm working on. Okay. The next thing we're going to work on is what's called a concatenate function. A concatenate function, if you've ever done any computer programming, is used to pull strings of words or letters or numbers even and put them into a line. Okay. What we're going to use the concatenate function for in Excel is to kind of do the same thing. Okay. So on page 102, we're going to come over here to this acoustic guitar tab. Now, what they're going to have us do is specifically for you to learn how to use the concatenate function. please know that in real life you probably would not do this way. You would just type it in. Okay? But this function can come in handy for a lot of other things. So we're going to do this at least once so that you can see how to use this function. So we're going to cell A17. So we're going to click on A17. And in step 3 on page 102, it tells you what it is we need to type in. Now, this is what I'm going to do. Step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6 are all one thing that they're having us type in. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and type it all in, show you what it does, and then go back and explain it. Okay? So we're going to start with, we want to concatenate. So once we start typing, it pops up. We can double click it. And then it tells us left A5, comma, space 1. Now the spaces are also very important in here. When you're going from one step to the other, don't put a space in. Don't forget the ending comma, but don't put a space in. Unless it tells you to. Oh, we found a typo. Okay, the really cool thing about Excel is that it found a typo, and my typo was that one of my mids was not all capitalized because I forgot the caps lock key was on, and it fixed it for me. So first, look at what showed up in the box. LIFO inventory balance. Now, we typed all of that in order for this cell to show the words LIFO inventory balance. Now, where did it get that from? If we look up here at the formula, okay, it says concatenate left A5, 1. So if we look at A5, 1 is the first letter. Okay. A5, 6, 1. A5, I is the 6th letter. F is the 10th letter. O is the 16th letter. So that's where it got LIFO from. Okay, so it's telling it A5, 16, we only want to pull one letter. A5, 6, we only want to pull one letter. If I change that to a 2, okay, if I change that to a 2, it's going to pull the whole word in, I-N, because the 6th letter is the I, and I want 2 letters, so it would pull the N as well. Now, they're going to have you, I'm going to show you a little trick here. They're going to have you do the same thing for first in, first out. So we're going to click and drag that one down. Now, it kind of looks like we're swearing here, and I apologize. That's not what it's going to look like when we're done. The word first has more letters than the word last. So right now it's pulling the F, but then it's pulling the hyphen, because the I is the 7th letter. Okay. So we just have to move all of these by one letter. And then we get FIFO. The next one I'm going to type in. So step 10. And the reason why I typed this one in, because it's not quite as long. Okay, so this one gives us the WA inventory balance. I guess the benefit to using the equation here, the function here, is that if you were to change this, it would also change down here. However, that's guaranteeing that you use the same number of letters and everything's in the same spot, because it's all relative to where the letters are, not what the letters are. Okay? Other than just showing you how to concatenate things, I don't see why you wouldn't just type in LIFO, FIFO, and WA. Again, totally your call. Everybody does things differently. So we have that done in cell B19. So this is where we're going to start. We're going to start calculating these. I kind of skipped a couple steps, so we're actually going to back up to step 7, because I wanted to do the words first to give you an idea, just to go over those all in one bout. So go back to step 7, and we're going to go to cell B17. So we're calculating last in, first out. Now I know we didn't do inventory in accounting 1 or accounting 2. I'm not sure, or in managerial. So I'm not sure if you've had inventory yet. Last in, first out means that the last things to come into our inventory are the first ones out the door. I think of it as a hardware store. So when a box of hammers comes into the hardware store, they fill them. They push the old ones to the back and put the new ones up front, because it really doesn't matter. A hammer is a hammer is a hammer. Okay, it's not going to go bad. So last in, first out is the last ones that came in the door, the first ones out the door. Okay, so we're going to put an equation here to, if we were to use the LIFO inventory balance, what would be the monetary value of our inventory? Okay, because our inventory costs different amounts as we purchase them. So again, we're going to start with our equal sign. Okay, and we're going to start with what our beginning inventory is, but again, we're calculating monetary value. So our monetary value for our beginning inventory is right here. So we're going to equals D10, and we're going to add to that, but this we're going to put in parentheses. We're going to take what our ending inventory is, okay, F4, minus what we began our inventory with, so B10, and end parenthesis, whoops, wrong button. And then we're going to multiply that by C11. So we're doing this because we're assuming that our beginning inventory is still there. We're assuming that we sold purchases 4, 3, 2, and 1 first. Okay. By taking our F4, our 23, minus our 21, it tells us that we had 2 hammers left, in this case guitars left, from this purchase of the inventory. So if we were to subtract these 2 numbers, we get 2. So we want to multiply it by the 102 and then add it to this, because we have all 21 of these left and we have 2 of these left. However, we have to do this by equation, because what happens if somebody didn't count right and somebody goes back and recounts? What happens if the monetary number is off? Okay? By using the equations, we only have to do the equation once, change the number up above, and the equation will automatically change. So we're going to press enter, and it tells us that using the LIFO, last in, first out, we have $2,304 of inventory left. Okay? So first in, first out, I kind of equate this to milk. The first milk that comes in is the first milk that goes out the door, otherwise it's going to spoil. Okay? So first in, first out, we're saying that this is what's being sold first, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. Okay? So this is what we will have left. This 23 units, 20 of them will come from purchase number 4, 3 of them will come from purchase number 18. So we need to put in the equation for that in step 9. We're going to take D14, which is this, because we know we're going to have all of those left, plus, and again, putting this in parentheses, F4 minus B14. So whatever's left over, we're going to multiply by C13. Okay? Because by taking 23 minus 20, we have 3 guitars that are coming from here, so we need to multiply it by that one. So then we're going to press enter, and we get our answer. Now, a weighted average is just that. It's an average. Okay, let's put in the equation and then I'll explain it to you. So equals D15 divided by B15 times F4. Okay, so now this equation that you're looking at took the total divided by how many units we had, which told us cost per unit, and then multiplied it by how many units we have left. And then that gave us our weighted average. So we press enter. So the next step on step 12, we're going to go to the inventory listing tab and go to cell I5. So right now there is nothing in that box. There isn't even an equation showing that there should be something in that box. And the reason behind that is because this, if we look, is acoustic guitars inventory for year 5, which, if we look at our acoustic guitars tab, is what we just calculated. Okay? So what we're going to put in here is we're going to have this cell mapped to that other sheet. So type in equals, click on the acoustic guitars tab, and click on B17 because that's the inventory method we're going to use because that is the lowest amount. And then press enter. And we can see in our inventory worksheet that we now have an amount in there and it's tied to the other sheet. Okay, go ahead and save this. The next thing we're going to look at is some conditional formatting. Okay, so on page 104, we have some develop your skills. Again, we're still working in the exact same file. We're going to stay in this file for this whole chapter. We're on the inventory listings tab and we're going to go from K5 to K83. So we're going to click and drag from K5 to K83 and click on your home tab. And right here there's a button that says conditional formatting. Okay. The first thing they want us to look at is the one called color scales. And they want us to choose blue, white, and red. Okay. And if you put your mouse on them, it tells you. So go ahead and click on it. Keeping that highlighted, we're going to go right back to where we were, and they want us to look at icon sets and choose 3 colored arrows, which I believe are right here, and click on it, and then it shows now we have the red, white, and blue and the colored arrows. Go back to your conditional formatting. Excuse me. And we're going to go down here where it says clear rules from selected cells. Okay, and that's going to make it all go away. Go back into that button. And this time we're going to data bars, gradient fill, and shoot. They call it purple. I think it looks pink, but you know. This one is actually pretty cool. Go ahead and click on that one. And if you look at it, it looks kind of like a column or a bar chart. It looks like a bar chart, like right on your Excel spreadsheet. So I think that one is pretty cool. Okay. Go ahead and save your file before we move on to the next step. This next one is working with what are called pivot tables. Now, a pivot table is kind of like an Excel spreadsheet, but it's really pliable, I guess would be a good word. It's you can change it, you can sort it, you can do a lot of different things in a pivot table. It's used to arrange data for reports. And you can go ahead and pause the video and read through the items that are in your textbook. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to page 109. Again, still using the same spreadsheet. We're going to go to cell A5 where it says acoustic guitars. And go up here to the Insert tab. And right over here in the corner in the table section it says Pivot Table. Go ahead and click on that. Right here it says Inventory Listing A4 to M84. And we're going to change this so that it's going to I83. Oops. hold on, I messed that one up. Let me try that again. Pivot table. You cannot use your arrow keys when you're in this box. I 83. Okay. So what this does is it kind of excludes that. If you remember, line 84 was just all of the totals. We don't want that. And it cuts it off at I. It doesn't give us all of those calculations at the end. It's just giving us the basic data. Okay. So go ahead and click OK. It's going to give us a new worksheet. And here we have a whole new sheet. And it looks like there's no data, but there will be when we're done. First thing we're going to do is rename this sheet. And it's going to say Inventory Pivot Table. Now, over here on the right-hand side, we have what's called a task pane. Okay, and in this task pane, we are going to choose certain things that we want in our inventory. And I'm at the bottom of page 109. So I'm going to put a check mark next to inventory category, country of manufacturer, and ending inventory year 2. Okay, that's saying this is the only data I want to look at right now. Okay, so it's only showing me that data. Now when we did that, if you look down here at the bottom, it gave us in rows the inventory category, country of origin, and then the value side, it gave us the ending inventory. Okay. On the top of page 110, it wants us to take the country of manufacturing and field and move it above the inventory. If we look right now, we have the inventory and the country, the inventory and the country. So it's kind of sorted in that manner. We're going to flip these two, so drag country above inventory, and now it gives us the country and it tells us what guitars were created in that country. Another way to sort it that you can, you know, I want to see what was created in Italy, and then you can look there, or what was shipped from Italy, I guess would be more, no, created, manufactured. The next thing we're going to do is take this inventory category out of the rows, and we're going to stick it over here on the right in the columns. And so now we have all of our countries on the left, all of our guitars on the top. We've created more of a table. Okay, go ahead and put that inventory back underneath country of manufacturing where it was. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here, just another way to get information onto this table. Take this product manager and we're going to put it right here in filters. So first we're going to put a check mark in it. And then we're going to drag it from rows and put it in filters. Now, what that means is we can now filter this data based on who the product manager is. Okay? So we're going to come over here to this drop-down arrow and put a check mark where it says Select Multiple Items. Okay? We're going to take out the check marks next to Clancy, Jacobs, Pouncey, and Williams, and then click OK. So now it's only showing us products that had a manufacturer or had a manager's name of Abbott, Brown, Howard, and Noon. Okay. Now go to cell A4 so that you can see everything. The next thing we're going to do is what's called a slicer. Okay, we're going to create what's called a slicer. So up here at the top, you'll notice we have some new tabs that we didn't have before. We have a whole section called Pivot Table Tools. And we're going to go into the Analyze tab and the Filtered section. And we're going to insert a slicer. So go ahead and click on Insert Slicer. And we get this box to appear, which gives us some options. We're going to create we're going to create a slicer for the primary end user and the product manager. So click those two and then click OK. So now we have these two boxes that appeared, and you can click and drag them so that you can still see everything. Okay. The next thing they want us to do is in the product manager, choose Clancy. So if you just click on Clancy, it narrows this list down to only things where the product manager was Clancy. Now, the next step, step 15, wants you to click a multi-select button, which is supposed to appear right here. Now, I don't have that in my version of Excel. You might, okay? But if you don't have that button, the control key works the same way, okay? So you could click that button and then choose Pouncey and Williams. And again, I'm just holding down my control key and then clicking Pouncey and Williams. And it shows me all of those products that had a product manager of any of those 3 people. Over here in the primary end user, we only want the products that were created for intermediate players. So I'm going to click on the word intermediate, and then it breaks it down. And again, if I choose beginner, it tells me which ones were created for beginners. Now, A3 says row labels, and there's a drop-down arrow. Go ahead and click on that drop-down arrow. Where it says select field, you can change this to inventory category or country of manufacture. Okay. Go ahead and click cancel on that. Just wanted to show you what that did. So we have all of this data. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to put a chart. Okay, we're going to turn some of this data into a chart. And that'll be the last step for this chapter. So we're going to come over here somewhere in this blank section of this pivot table. Actually, we're going to go to A4, it says. So go where it says Finland in the current situation. And we're going to go back up here where it says Pivot Table Tools, Analyze. In the Tools section, right here, we have a button that says Pivot Chart. And it brings us up to some chart options. We're going to choose column, which is already chosen. And we want a cluster column, so we're going to leave that right where it is. And then click OK. So it's now created a chart for us. We're going to click anywhere in a blank spot, and we're going to drag this down here underneath our table. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of editing to this. Under our pivot chart tools, we now have another one that says format, but we're going to come over here to analyze. And there's a section that says show hide, and we're going to choose field list. So it's going to hide that for us. Oh, actually, we want that back. So if that was already showing, leave it there. We're going to take inventory category, and now we have this section right here because we're looking at the chart. We have a legends section. We're going to take this inventory category and put it in the legend. If you look at your chart while you let go, you can see it took the different categories and stuck them over here on the right in your legend. Okay. So all we've done is created a chart to go along with our data. Okay, and you might have to move some things around if stuff is overlapping. So this chart tells us the country of origin, the amount that was created, and then the different colors tell us what it was that was created. Okay. Go ahead and save this, and you can go ahead and dive into your assignment. Have a great week.